When governments make efforts to maintain social capital, to build trust in the institutions and the systems that we have, we end up getting more investment in education, in the types of things that we need to have a prosperous economy. When we have low levels of trust and people are worried about misinformation and disinformation, we tend to vote for people that aren't going to invest in those things that broadly grow the economies. So productivity has a very specific meaning in economics. If our productivity is improving, it means that we can produce more goods and services with the same inputs or the same amount of goods and services with fewer inputs. So in order to grow the wealth of the country, the goal is to be able to, make more stuff and not have to work as many hours, if you're a worker, or if you're a company, not have to buy as many things as inputs in order to make that good. So the goal in economics is to increase productivity. And that's how we increase our wealth. That's how we get, real GDP growth. The cake metaphor comes from Hazel Henderson. And she says, often people talk about the economy as a pie and that we have to grow the pie to make it bigger. But a better metaphor might be a cake where you need a foundation for the economy. So you need to have, the first level of that foundation is the environment, it's nature. The next level would be the household. So having children and taking care of them and sending them to school and putting them in classes and those types of things. That's the next level. That all of that household work, volunteering in your community. That's a foundation. Then the next level after that would be public infrastructure and public services. So schools, hospitals, roads, high-speed rail. That's all the public sector. All of that infrastructure is necessary to enable a healthy private sector economy. So the free market only works if it's built on the foundation of all of these pieces working together. And then you have healthy workers with appropriate levels of skill who have their families taken care of, who can afford to live somewhere and do the work that we need them to do to have a productive, growing economy. That metaphor is really helpful for people to picture why investing in health care isn't a drain on the economy, but rather it enables other pieces of the economy to function. When people talk about the public sector and productivity, they might talk about whether or not the public sector itself is productive. So how efficiently does the public sector deliver services? And so that's certainly one part of it. And part of that debate can be, does it make sense to centralize services and have, one school board for the whole province, or does it make sense to have local services that are tailored? So there's debates around that. But I think it's much deeper than that. I think that government makes decisions, as I said, when you think of it as a cake, to build enabling infrastructure for the rest of the economy. So if government is investing in physical infrastructure, so they're investing in ports and roads and highways and bridges and schools and universities, that enabling infrastructure allows other parts of the economy to function. And if we stop investing in those, then the productivity as a whole declines. We can measure this over time. You can measure government investment in public, physical, and social infrastructure. And when we're investing more in those things, overall productivity increases. When we stop investing in those things, business sector productivity declines. So there's a very clear relationship there. The other piece that is also important, so there's a whole sector of research around social capital. So in societies where there are high levels of trust, where there's trust in information, there's trust in the government, people will tend to vote for governments that invest in these types of things. So when governments make efforts to maintain social capital, to build trust in the institutions and the systems that we have, we end up getting more investment in education, in the types of things that we need to have a prosperous economy. When we have low levels of trust and people are worried about misinformation and disinformation, we tend to vote for people that aren't going to invest in those things that broadly grow the economy. The right-wing solution to this, the answers that we've heard, throughout the 80s and the 90s were cut taxes, deregulate, and the magic of the free market will grow the economy. And it turns out that this didn't really work. actually, this isn't an effective way to grow an economy. Some of the solutions that we had post-war around investing in public education, investing in physical infrastructure, so roads, highways, that enables economic activity to happen. And adding on to that, one of the lessons we learned in the pandemic that we need childcare, we need elder care, we need people to take care of us. And if we don't have people to take care of us, then it's hard for us to get to work. We're not as productive at work. I think, and a lot of sort of more progressive economists are thinking it's really important for us to put forward an alternative narrative about how Canada can increase its productivity and become prosperous, because there are some really different answers out there. And I think it really matters what policy choices we make if we start investing in building what's, economists will call human capital. So skills and training, if we have broad-based ability for people to go back to school and get retraining in a field that will give them a good job, that's good for the economy. Employment insurance often allows people to do that, but it's not as generous right now. We're not spending a lot on skills. This budget cut some money for skills training through EI, so it really matters if we're putting these policies in place to generate the types of broad-based wealth that we need.